Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Sometimes the Russian bureaucracy seems like it's a bureaucracy like any other. Like it's all about a bunch of sad people in grey suits with a duty to care for an innocent collection of papers with a stamp, a seal, and maybe even a hint of common sense. But not this time. Recently, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin signed a decree according to which foreigners can now officially serve in the Russian army during mobilization. Now, it would seem that this is nothing out of the ordinary. Foreigners have joined the Russian army before. But the devil, as always, is in the legal details. The key difference is that foreigners who have signed a service contract now find themselves in a perpetual mode of waiting for demobilization. According to the still valid decree on partial mobilization from 2022, dismissal from service is possible only due to old age, illness, or a prison sentence. And if you are not lying on a stretcher with a high fever, you are not 98 years old, or you have not been convicted by a Russian court, then stay in the service, brother, until the very end, and perhaps even a little bit afterwards. Actually, even the court sentence bit doesn't always work. Remember how Russia keeps sending its convicts to war in Ukraine? Yeah. Now, it is assumed that foreigners from Asia, Africa or Latin America, at least those with an overabundance of trust in Russian advertising, will become the new fuel for the Russian war machine. They are promised good pay, Russian citizenship and perhaps even a piece of land, presumably as long as it has the dimensions of a burial plot. And most importantly, the newly minted soldier will not be able to say, "I changed my mind," because he has already been mobilized. Hooray, comrades! It's military service without a return ticket, again, unless it comes with a body bag attached. Pretty grim stuff. Actually, there is another way, namely surrender. But to get there, you have the additional hurdles to cross, including the dramatic circumstances of confronting the Ukrainian army in the trenches. So why even go so far? But let's be serious. Putin's new decree is not just an attempt to fill the ranks of the army. It is the export of war through the import of people. Free trade, Russian style. This is when there are not enough of your own soldiers available, so you lure foreigners, and then you put them into a meat grinder beneath that glittering dome of the great geopolitical illusion called multipolarity and all that. All the stuff that Moscow propagandists keep talking about. Therefore, dear citizens of other countries, before agreeing to a contract with the Russian army, make sure that you have not read the agreement only halfway through, and definitely do not believe that you can leave the Russian army at will. Because in Russia, freedom is not a right. It is, at best, a coincidence. Russian propagandist Vladimir Soloviev, who has long been competing against himself and perhaps against ex-President Dmitry Medvedev for the title of the voice of nuclear Armageddon, has once again gone on air to try and give the heebie-jeebies to Trump, America, and common sense all at the same time. Seems like this time around, all it took to trigger this outburst of atomic rage was Trump's latest statement about Putin. And I quote, "He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless." Which, to be fair, is the truth. And for the Russians, the truth is usually a triggering event. Anyway, it seems Soloviev doesn't want to be friends anymore, not with America anyway. If we were to do a little trailer for this cinematic rant, it would contain a radioactive tsunami, American B-2 stealth bombers that we, the Russians, can see, and, you know, all that lovely stuff about death and destruction. In short, it's kind of like Terminator 2, only without Sarah Connor, but with a big nuclear button hidden inside the Russian nesting doll.
А на сколько процентов поверит Трамп, если скажет, что мы сотрем к чертовой матери Америку? На сколько процентов поверит Трамп, когда поймет, что два Посейдона, сработавших с разных сторон североамериканского континента, приводят к образованию радиоактивного цунами, которое создает навеки пролив имени товарища Сталина? А насколько поймет и поверит товарищ Трамп, Когда осознает, что наши подводные лодки определенной серии оснащены достаточно мощным оружием, чтобы никакой, еще и близко не построенный, защитный элемент, золотой купол, бриллиантовый, говёный, какой угодно, мог защитить Америку от удара воздействия. Или он что, на полном серьезе считает, что как только она отправляет баллистику или поднимает свои гребаные Б-2, которые для нас видны, которые попытаются нанести удар по нашей территории, будем так сказать, ой, смотрите, да нет, мы просто сотрем вас к чертовой матери с лица земли. И если вы считаете, что наш верховный главнокомандующий с вами шутил, когда говорил, а зачем такой мир, в котором нет России, или когда вы считаете, это было так, случайной фигурой речи, когда было сказано, что ответ на встречный удар обозначает, что мы в рае, а вы сразу сдохнете. Вы вообще ошалели? Вы что о себе возомнили?
Now, with his latest rant, Soloviev, having long given up any pretense of being, a serious analyst, seems to be auditioning for a spot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe instead. You could actually imagine shooting a new movie right away, something along the lines of the Avengers Endgame, except Thanos has Soloviev's face, and instead of Infinity Stones, he's looking for his confiscated real estate in Italy. The propaganda maestro speaks enthusiastically about submarines that are equipped with weapons so powerful that no dome, not even a diamond dome, can protect America. Here, obviously, he's taking a jab at Trump's Golden Dome project, but in reality, Russian submarines are more often repaired than actually, seen sailing across the seas. Now, Soloviev is not just a mouthpiece for the government. He is a genre of his own. One that we might want to call nuclear stand-up. And although his performances are increasingly reminiscent of therapeutic sessions with a psychiatrist, it is worth remembering that when there is nukes behind the madness, it is no longer funny. Still, should the regime collapse, he can always start a YouTube channel, presumably with Alex Jones. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova recently said that the BRICS summit has become a red flag for the West, and this is the best proof of the correctness of the chosen path.
Очевидно, что такой острый интерес к деятельности нашего объединения, в частности БРИКС, и не только БРИКС, но и других объединений, но БРИКС просто стал какой-то красной тряпкой для Запада, подтверждает правильность выбранного пути. Не потому, что мы хотим кого-то разозлить, а потому что они изначально сами были агрессивно настроены. И, видимо, поняли, что их агрессивный настрой не оправдался. Нам есть что ответить. Мы сильны, и мы эту силу, но только не в агрессии, а в конструктиве, в созидательном подходе и продемонстрировали.
Seeing a Russian spokesperson talking about aggression by other countries, of all things, really is comedy gold. Anyway, according to Zakharova, the BRICS association irritates the West because, and I quote, it is an alternative. An alternative to what exactly? To market economy? Democracy? Unlimited Wi-Fi, perhaps? Also, the BRICS is no political bloc, despite what Russia may wish others to think. And you don't have to look that far. Just ask China and India if they have that many common interests. Understandably, all those countries want to live their own way. But Russia's version of living its own way just happens to involve war crimes and invasions, something few other members would probably be willing to be associated with, except for Iran, probably. Now, Zakharova is a permanent master of geopolitical stand-up. Only the audience is getting smaller and the laughs are getting more bitter. Still, the BRICS now has a real problem, because Donald Trump seemingly had enough and decided to slap them with rather steep tariffs. Brazil's leader, Lula da Silva, slammed this decision by saying the world doesn't want an emperor, accusing Trump of trying to exert control by posting threats on the internet. Well, apart from indirectly confirming that all those Trump as the God Emperor of mankind memes might have been onto something after all, Brazil's president has somehow missed one thing. If he doesn't care for leaders with a penchant for world dominance, then why is he standing next to Putin and Xi Jinping? And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TDP World for more latest news and updates.